Let everybody know we are in the middle of the street in Tucson, Arizona. Welcome to the I Am Real Estate Show with Ray Smith, Sandra Johnson, and Danielle Johnson. On the show today, we have Sean Campbell of CS Design, and later on we'll have Mike Dalton, who is from Pioneer Title.
We got to update that intro because we don't have Danielle in there.
Yeah. I know. I always get forgotten.
You feel a little slighted. Yeah, we got to update that.
New.
Put
that on our to-do list.
We'll talk to Tom that we need to add Danielle Johnson to the intro. Just make sure everything's okay.
So that goes to my to-do list.
Yeah, it goes to your to-do list. You want to be on there? It's on your list.
Let everyone know that this is that you guys know before we started. This is a good friend of mine, so we're going to sit there and have some fun. I love working with this guy. He is one of the funnest guys to be around. Does great for the Tucson community. Even his company is local, so we'll talk to Sean about his company and how it's going. So, Sean, first tell us, what is CS Design?
Well, before I mention that intro, despite Daniel not being a part of it, powerful. I'm just sitting here bobbing my head like, yeah, I love it.
So we had a little, I won't call it a disagreement, but maybe some kind of a process that we went through to pick the song. Because there was another song that was in the running. And so we had to kind of work that out, but we settled on this one.
That
we
was
love
a great one. I loved it. Yeah. But CS Design Studios is a company I recently merged with. I had my own company, Campbell Marketing Group, for about 7.5 years. And this acquisition of my company to CS Design Studios has been tremendous. Instead of just being able to work with my clients with this social media marketing, I'm now able to consult on the whole gamut: website design, SEO, Google My Business. And all of that is still new to me, but I have such a tremendous team I'm working with to be a part of that I just, I'm just a fly on the wall these first 30, 60, 90 days, just learning. Yeah.
If you take some time and look at us on the internet, you'll see the cool card he has.
Yeah.
And it is really beautiful. If you get this card, do not lose it. So, first thing I asked John, so you are the CMO. So what does that mean?
The Chief Marketing Officer.
It's on there, y'all, in case you didn't notice.
Yeah. And the first couple of weeks, it was the Chief Mistake Officer. I was like, oops, sorry, that's me. That was my fault. That was me again. But yeah, the Chief Marketing Officer, and it's I don't say this just to say it, but it's just been an honor and a privilege to be a part of that team so far, and just like I said, just being a sponge right now and kind of learning how a lot of the processes. You and I were joking. We're all joking before the show started. It's like, Sean, we never see you. I'm like, I'm in a thing called meetings. And going to work from yourself to, being a part of such a tremendous team. And I love it. I do. But it's just a big of a huge shift. So
I want to make everyone aware that also that it's a local business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We are at Trail Dust Town. And you guys would be there soon, the three of you, I hope. And it's tremendous because when you go through Trail Dust Town, it's very westerny.
Right.
People are dressed up as cowboys, and there's stunt shows, and there's the steak, the steak place.
Right.
But when you walk into our studios, it's like walking in on the bridge of the Death Star. I swear. You walk in,
exciting
the
tomorrow,
first thing you see is R2-D2 and Darth Vader looking at you. We got stormtroopers, and it's the lighting. You guys are going to be and on the other side, we got an arcade. There's an arcade.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if you have the kiddies, just turn on a few video games and let them go at it.
I actually have kind of a funny Trail Dust Town story. When my son and his wife got married, they bought a townhouse that was just off of Tanque Verde and Cole. And after they moved in, he said, we thought we were moving into a nicer area, but we hear gunshots every night. And it clicked. They were actually hearing the show from Trail Dust Town.
Yes.
So that was quite a relief to know that they were not having live
That's a cute
gunshots in the neighborhood. Yeah, it was pretty fun. It's a cool place, though, and it's such an iconic place for Tucson.
Yeah, and it's so well kept and preserved. When I come in every morning, it's spotless. It's like walking through Disneyland. You know what I mean? It is. I mean, the crew's out there doing, all the gardening, and there's cats and, stuff. It's really cool. Yeah.
It's a fun place. They've hosted a couple of events for the
Yeah.
Arizona Bowl
Mm-hmm.
volunteers, the Blue Blazers. They've done a
Mhm.
few things for us in there, and they always
Yeah.
do such a great job.
Yeah, the staff there, I forget the name of the management group there, but they're tremendous. They really are. Yeah.
Well, we in real estate, I feel like we have to wear a lot of hats,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so hard for us to be an expert at everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you really want to focus a lot on your clients and
Mhm.
their needs, but you also have to kind of be a marketing expert
Mm-hmm.
and an industry expert. You know, I mean, there's always all of these different hats that you're wearing. So it's great when we can reach out to a company like yours. Now, I know we've done some business together,
Mm-hmm.
but when we don't have to actually be the expert for a little while, we
Mhm.
can just let someone else do that, and we can focus on what we would consider to be income generating.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it was funny. I was talking to a realtor. I know we only got a few minutes here, but I was talking to a realtor about their marketing, and I was telling her, like, with Facebook, and the two of you know this, it's you can't be as targeted as I can on many other
Mhm.
industries
Right.
because you fall under the housing, financial, and the employment. So there is that equal opportunity.
Yes, and so
You
that
know.
is a fair housing,
Fair housing, yes,
situation
that's
for
right.
us in real
Yeah.
estate. Once we start
Yeah.
trying to do target marketing, even if it's really
Mm-hmm.
not that we're trying to exclude people, but
Mhm.
maybe we know this
Mhm.
is a neighborhood where
Yeah.
you know families would be. Once you start doing that, you have a
Right.
fair housing
Right.
violation. So Facebook is designed
Mm-hmm.
for us not to make a
Yeah.
fair housing violation.
Yeah, as it should be, right? But
Yes.
you can target an area per se. You
Mhm.
just can't get in the weeds like I
Right.
can, or whatever, right? But that's still very, very productive because if you run those ads just on a brand awareness campaign, which is the cheapest type of campaign on Facebook,
hmm
people are going to see. I was just having a discussion today with the owner of CS Design Studios. What's the difference between reach and impressions? You can run a brand awareness campaign in that area, and the reach is the amount of people that will see it, and the impressions are how many times people see it. So you really want to get to 3, 4, 5 impressions for every person that sees it, right?
Right.
That's improving your brand awareness. It's improving, you know, and now we know who people feel as if they know the three of you,
Right.
right?
hmm
So
What is your what is your expertise as far as when it comes to
Mhm.
CS design?
it's social media.
Okay.
You know, that's still my wheelhouse right
Okay,
now.
okay.
You know, so however, we are able to approach a potential client, and provide the whole gamut of services. You know, and we are, you know, all of our consultations are free. And if digital is not where you should be, we tell you where you should be. I
Okay.
love the fact that two of you do this show. This separates you from so much of the
Oh,
other
thanks a lot, Sean. We
beautiful
appreciate that.
realtors, people that I appreciate. But you guys doing this show every week, that commitment you guys do, and all the information you provide your guests, this is absolutely tremendous.
We'll get back on the other side. We want to talk about that,
Okay.
how
Mhm.
maybe that's something that we can look into for future for other
Hmm.
realtors and how they can broaden their.
Okay,
The-
we're
the-
not going to
take-
give away all the secrets.
Oh, of course not. We're heading to the break. Thanks for spending part of your afternoon with us. You're listening to the I Am Real Estate Show on 10:30 a.m. KBOI. We'll be back on the other side with Sean Campbell, everyone. We're back, everyone. We're back to the show with the CMO of CS Design, Sean Campbell, local marketing firm here in Tucson.
You know, we talk a lot about Facebook and about social media and different aspects of social media. And one thing that I've heard a lot of is that in order to get your content seen,
Mhm.
you really need to have engagement. And
Yes.
that goes across all forms, all the
Absolutely,
platforms.
Yeah.
What are some recommendations you'd give for trying to get that engagement that still is staying true to your brand, but also getting people to engage and understand?
I work with a number of local, companies, and whenever there are like the big events, like the 4th Avenue Street Fair just came by, create, something on Canva. I'm sure you've used Canva. Just ask, what's your favorite fair food? What's your, what do you like most about the fair? Create an image to where it's asking that question, to it prompts people to engage on your post, right?
Is engagement, you consider engagement the same thing as responses? You just need responses back?
Engagement, if we're just talking specifically Facebook,
Yeah.
is either a like, a share, or a comment. But
Okay.
if you can get people to comment on that, That's going to increase the likelihood of increasing your organic or unpaid reach. So yeah, that question is like spot on in so many different ways, because that's essentially what you want to do, is have some posts mixed in your monthly calendar that are specifically to increase engagement.
Are a lot of business afraid of the digital media and going that route? And how do you circumvent that?
It's a big topic amongst CS design studios, and in 2 seconds I'll kind of tie it up. It's because we're always worried about retention, right? And the number one reason why people do not stay with any digital marketing firm? What would be your guess?
Too much work.
Too much work.
Not being able to measure the results.
Right. And what would you say, Danielle?
I would say not really understanding what's happening and feeling like, not being able to see the results, not knowing if their money is well spent.
Yeah, and it's more on Danielle's answer. The number one reason why people leave a digital marketing firm is because they feel as if they're ignored or just a number.
Okay.
Right? So I was with you, Sandra, thinking it's like, okay, it's the ROI. It's the ROI. They want to know what the ROI is. That's not it at all, right? So in answering your question, it took me a while to get to it, but people, if the better we communicate what those numbers are, and say, yeah, we had a down month because of this, this, and this, people are, oh, okay, at least we know you're doing something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So as long as people know that we're doing something for them and their money is going towards the right places and there's a plan in place, then we alleviate that, that confusion or kind of that hesitancy, right? We work with so many different businesses that are experts at what they do, but they don't do what we do and vice versa, right?
And they have to understand that you're an expert at this. This is what we're expert at. And what we're telling you is because we've done this a long time. We understand what you're trying to get out of your company, what you're trying to get out as far as digital growth.
Yeah.
I think one of the other struggles for businesses when it comes to social media is that it is a moving target.
Yes.
The rules change, the algorithms, everything that they want to see changes so frequently that if you are not in that industry, it's hard to stay.
Yeah,
relevant.
and no disrespect to anybody that tackles the whole gamut of digital marketing. When someone says, I do social media, I do SEO, I do Google, then you must be brilliant, right? But I stay in my lane, right? I know a little bit about those other areas, but Sandra, you're 100% right. Just like in real estate, things are always changing. It's a moving, target.
Oh yeah, let's talk interest rates and financing.
Right? So that's why I stay in my lane with social, because there's something new each and every day with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, yeah.
Where do you get your education from when it comes to staying on top of your market?
A lot of it is, being in front of, the stats and the metrics every day. If I see something glitchy or something that's not right, then I know, to kind of do that research. But honestly, I Google it or watch YouTube or, subscribe or belong to a lot of other groups on Facebook where we're all digital marketers. So it's kind of just in the community itself. Yeah.
And a lot of people think, they can post something on social media. Anyone can post on social media. It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's effective, but anyone can. And so, a lot of times people will think, well, I can just create my own thing.
Yeah.
And something that I learned recently was that the more content you put out, if it's not being seen, it's got no engagement. If no one's paying attention to it, it drops you down. So even though you've got some content, it's still hurting you.
Yeah.
And I've got a question in that where, across the different kinds of social media platforms, the Instagram and Facebook or LinkedIn, if you're not keeping up with all of them, depending on your business, one may be better than another. What would your advice be if someone's struggling with trying to do all of them?
Yeah, great question.
To try and do something well.
Great question, because when I've talked to people who are in that scenario and they say, I want to do all these platforms, I always tell them, it's like, you know what? Let's pick the best one for you, and you just worry about this one for 6 months.
Okay.
Don't even open up those other apps. Don't even look at, Facebook, Instagram. All you should do is just concentrate on LinkedIn and learn LinkedIn inside and out and invest every single day, even on the weekends, on some activity on LinkedIn. And then once you think you got it, quote unquote, right, then move on to the next one. So that'd be a great piece of advice for any realtor out there. Don't try to tackle it all at once. Learn one social platform for a good 6 months and then tackle another, then another.
I think
So-
measuring your success is also a challenge.
Yeah.
Because you can have great content, and like Danielle said, if you're not getting engagement
Mhm.
with it, is it actually harming you that you're putting out too much content that's not relevant?
Yeah, if it's not relevant, if the two of you were putting out content regarding, I don't know, the coolest muscle cars out there,
Right.
obviously, right? So, if the general rule of thumb is you provide value and information surrounding, educating your audience about home buying, home selling, put some community stuff out there. You guys go the extra mile with this show, which is tremendous, and you utilize this show for a lot of your content, which is exactly what I do with my show, right?
It sounds like you're saying that people need to stay in their wheelhouse, know your wheelhouse, and that's
Yeah.
what your expert
Yeah.
are. Just like you and CS Design, you guys
Yeah.
have your expert
Yeah.
area, and you stay within that that
Mhm.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, the challenge for us is learning just enough of our clients' business to, portray it the right way
Yeah.
in their brand and in their voice and whatnot. Then we use our expertise in the driving traffic towards whether it's a phone call or to our website or a lead gen form or whatever it is.
Just constantly going, aren't you? You're just constantly doing things.
Yes.
I have to tell you, I was in a class before I was actually even an agent. I was there as an affiliate member, and the instructor said, "Life is too short to
Mhm.
perfect your weaknesses."
Oh, wow.
And I went,
Love that.
"Wow!" So
Love
I don't
that.
have to do everything myself.
No. And if you have, you're fortunate because you have your daughter Danielle.
I'm super lucky.
Super lucky. Super lucky. So I'm sure I'll be calling Danielle and say, "Hey, you want a job with CS Design?"
Don't hurt me like that.
We got like a little bit over a minute left. We want to make sure that people get a chance to reach you and your company, and so how would they do that, Sean?
Just text me 520-339-0259. We'll set up a time. If you want a consultation, just let me know you heard us on the I Am Real Estate show, and I'll set up a free consultation with you, and we'll go from there.
Also, are you doing okay with the business? You loving the heck out of it?
Love
man?
it.
That's awesome.
Love it.
And how
Yeah.
long has the business been in Tucson?
It's been established 15 years. Just
Yeah.
a few weeks ago. It's been 15 years.
Letting everybody
yeah.
know it's not new.
No. And that there's so much opportunity there. I had my business for 7+ years, and now we have Join In Business has been around for 15. Just a good group. I say this affectionately, a lot of nerds in the group.
Well, thanks for being
Yeah.
the nerd of the day for us. We appreciate you being here, Sean, and we love you and think that you're awesome. So thank you so
correct.
much.
The chief nerd officer.
All right.
Thank you guys for staying with us. You're with the I Am Real Estate team: Ray Smith, Sandra Johnson, and Danielle Johnson.
Okay, that's our I Am Real Estate show, and we're the Johnson Smith team. We can't combine them.
I do it all the time.
Somebody's gonna call you on the carpet one day. So
Who's going to call me on the carpet?
Oh.
I'm not saying anything that's bad.
Yeah.
I've been incorrect many a time, so this is one more. Okay, today we have on the show is one of the pillars of our community. He is the Vice President of Pioneer Title, Mike Dalton.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here. It's very, very kind for you to say I'm a pillar of the community. There's a lot of great people that do a lot of great things to make Tucson a great place to live and own real estate.
That is absolutely true, and those are the people that we love to have on the show.
Right.
So thanks for being here. We were talking to you a little bit about fraud, and you guys see it. You guys see it all.
Yes. Well, and it's the nature of what we do. We have high dollar transactions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of emotion that goes into these real estate transactions. And when you have those sort of elements, then it becomes sort of a target for fraudsters to want to take advantage of those certain elements to their advantage. I was putting some numbers together before I headed over just to show you like how apparent it is. And so in the American Land Title Association in 2021 did a survey, and for their survey, they found that 1 in 3 real estate transactions were a target of fraud of some sort.
Wow. That's a big number.
high
That's a
number.
lot.
Yeah.
Now how what that is that is somebody trying to fish an email and get in that way, and they're unsuccessful, but the attempt has been made.
Right.
So it's we're a $1 trillion industry, and so it's very, very lucrative for these entities, these lack of a better word, organized crime syndicates, to put together an effort to come in and swoop in and steal some money and be off in the night. And we have the victims trying to deal with the after effects.
Yeah.
And our job as an escrow and title provider, is we want to be part of that defensive system. And since we're the last place where all the parties come together and the transaction comes to fruition, we really take it seriously with our role as not to just provide great service, but to also do everything in our power to protect the consumer.
Right.
And so there's a lot of efforts that we've been making, and a lot of tools that we're pulling in to help offset that. But really, at the end of the day, for those who are in the industry and doing business, you got to know the people you're dealing with. You really have to know the folks that you're dealing with, and that's why I love this industry, because it's a relation-based industry, and the stronger the relationships across a transaction, the higher likelihood that the consumer is going to be protected from across the board, fraud, service, everything. But those relationships are really what come down to ultimately protecting the consumer.
And you guys work through secure email systems. I always have this conversation with my clients, because most of the buyers and sellers are not on an account that's secure, and a lot of agents are using Gmail or Yahoo accounts, and there's no security there compared to what we would expect for this transaction. But title really, if they're going to get a document from you that's important, they're going to get that document through secure email.
Yeah, especially when we're dealing with non-public information. If it's a document that's a public record, for the most, that can be sent non-securely. But for the most part, everything we do is a high-level encrypted email. I know for some customers, it's they find that to be a inconvenience. But then when we point out the statistics of 1 in 3 real estate transactions are a target of fraud, we're okay with that inconvenience for them.
Sure.
So that's just one of the tools that we have as a standard of practice to protect the consumer.
Hearing the 1 in 3, it kind of reminded me of some things I've heard recently, which are even text messages to a listing agent saying something's wrong with the electric or something's wrong with the water. If you want to fix it, you need to text this phone number, and if you don't, we're going to shut off your utilities. And you can usually tell the verbiage is not the same as what's on the website. You can tell that the phone number is not the same as on the website. But, just from beginning to end, anything that's public, they are trying to take advantage of that information to try and use that for different purposes too.
Yeah, and really, there's the escalation has been really sort of, for lack of a better word, impressive, with the sophistication that they're going into this. And so a lot of times, we all use social media to build our business, but that also creates an information pool for these fraudsters. And so what we're seeing now, where before there used to be red flags of spelling and grammar and phrasing that you go, this isn't the professional I'm used to dealing with. Now they're using AI chatbots to create those communication pieces, and so what's coming across has now become a lot more polished, a little bit harder to detect. So we have to ask the questions of, that makes sure that we're dealing with the people that we should be dealing with.
Don't give out all your secrets. Yeah, Mike, listen to that. It's very interesting to see that nowadays that the criminals, I'm sorry if I'm calling you guys criminals, I don't know what the word is.
Criminals.
Yeah. Are doing a really good job of having overcome all the obstacles you guys put out there.
Well, they do when we let our guard down.
Okay.
And so the thing that we really try to do is we want to make sure that there's always a consistent level of communications and relationships in the transactions. It's one of those things where you should be able to pick up the phone and know who you're talking to on the other side. So we always encourage our clients to verify the information that they're getting from us, to verify that information with the people that they're working with, the real estate agents and the lenders, and just make sure that when they're reaching out, they're getting the parties that they really want to get to. And if it seems pushed, if it seems rushed,
I'm gonna have you hold that thought, and we'll pick up here on the other side of the break.
Welcome back, everyone. We've been having a great conversation with the Vice President of Pioneer Title Agency, Mike Dalton. And with that being said, Sandra had a quick question.
Well, we've been really aware of fraud being a problem for real estate. So if you would just go ahead and kind of fill us in on what you're seeing from the title perspective.
Well, vacant land has increased in prominence as far as where the fraud transactions take place. There are two reasons. Because of the housing market being what it is, and the shortage of inventory, and people not being able to find what they want. What the fraudsters are doing is they're researching through public information vacant land and pricing it really, really below market. So people with cash will come in and say, hey, let's jump on this and grab this up. And there's usually a story behind this. It's sometimes it's like, we need to move real fast. I need the cash for something else, or, oh, I inherited this property. It's, I'm not going to do anything with it, so I just need to get rid of it. I don't want to deal with it, so I don't care. I inherited it. So if there's always a story, like sort of pushing the sale of the property, that's something that we look out for. We've had situations where we've had buyers come in and we've proceeded with the transaction and closed, and we come back later and find out that wasn't the party that was who owned the property, and when we send off the documents to be notarized, they're really good fake IDs. I mean, they're really, really hard to beat fake IDs. So we're doing some things locally to try to help offset that. So what we look for is, like, one, we have the ability to sort of, through some communication methods, really identify if the seller is where they say they are.
Right.
And there are some places where if we can locate the IP address through the communication, that is a red flag of, this is a known area for fraudsters to operate out of. I won't go into the countries,
right.
But so we do have things that we see, and really it's the buyer that is really damaged. More so than the people who own the property, because the people who own the property, there's actually it's Arizona Revised Statute 33-420 that protects property owners from fraudulently recorded documents.
Okay.
So if you're hearing this and you say, I've got all this vacant land, or I've got vacant land, how do I protect it? Well, there's already a statute in place that offers that provides that protection, that you can't have an encumbrance placed on your property, or you can't have ownership transferred through fraud. You can look up the statutes, and if you have questions, you can feel free to call any one of our Pioneer Title offices and for a little bit more information. But it's the buyers. We had one case and where the buyers bought this property, were starting to, really had laid out everything that they wanted to do with the property, but there was a storage unit on there, and the people are like, well, I'm not going to be able to get there. You guys can just empty it out, do whatever you want. Well, come to find out that wasn't the owner that we sold the property. And we were fortunately enough able to work with the inheritant of the property and the people who wanted the property to get it worked out. So the property got sold, and the buyers were made whole. I mean, that's where title insurance and it comes in to actually do the job of protecting the rights of the buyer and the seller. So we made the transaction whole, and everybody went off on their merry way. But it's really something that has escalated. In 2022, a firm, Certified ID, which tracks about $100 billion worth of mortgage transactions, reported that there was a 145% increase in fraud attempts over the prior year. 145%. Wow. Well, you have COVID, and we had things moving so fast, right, that it was easy, and actually the recovery cases averaged about $165,000 per incident. So per wire fraud incident, that's the average.
Wow.
And so if you think about having $165,000 all of a sudden missing from your bank account, it's a big deal.
That's a big chunk of money.
Yeah. So it's sometimes you gotta get back down to old fashioned sorts of transactions. Instead of wiring the funds, you can go to your bank and get a cashier's check and walk that over and hand it physically to the escrow staff, and you're good to go. But triple check your information when you're wiring funds, and that's just not real estate transactions. That's just anytime you're wiring funds. But on a real estate transaction, you really need to verify everything, every piece of information that you're getting. And what we look at for on our side is when we're paying out proceeds from a sale. Like last minute, we get an email saying, "Oh, hey, I need you to send the funds to this bank account," and we send and in the past, everybody people have said, "Okay, sure," and you do that, and those proceeds are gone, and the title company is on the hook, really, right, at the end of the day when that happens. Again, why you need to be using a title and escrow company for all your real estate transactions. But from our standpoint, every time we get it's like something's changed, something looks a little off, we'll call the agents involved, we'll call the lender, we'll call we'll call the parties involved with the transaction just to verify that, hey, this is what's going on. And a lot of times somebody's like, "Oh, hey, my email's been hacked."
Yeah.
So
and we used to think of it as just the buyer being the one that's being targeted, but it's actually the title company as well. Mm-hmm. Anyone in that chain, probably they're just looking for a weak link.
Yeah. Yes. And a lot of times somebody will send out an email to the parties involved, and it'll look exactly like the email that you're used to dealing with, but there'll be a slight variation in the email address, and you don't pick it up.
You're listening to Mike Dalton, who's the vice president of Pioneer Title. What I want to do now, Mike, is I think we just scared the heck out of people for a little bit. So I thought that we would remind people who own land and vacant land, what are some of the things they can do? Give them some of the secrets that they can do. If I own vacant land, what's the first couple things you recommend that they try to attempt to do?
Do you know it's what really? Again, it comes down to the old to knowing the people that you're around. So, just, what you need to do is if you know your neighbors, say, hey, if somebody puts up a for sale sign on my property, could you let me know?
Right.
Because that actually, that's one of the things, like, hey, this guy's not selling his property.
Right.
It's creating that community of letting your neighbors know, like, what your intentions are with the land, because when you're dealing with vacant land, a lot of times, if it's a small residential lot, the folks around you are going to be familiar with the lot because they want to know what's going on next door.
Right. Exactly.
And if it's bigger rural areas, people really have grown up in those those areas and know each other quite well. So it's one of those things like, hey, I see you got some stuff going on. Is everything okay? And then it's like yes, or it's a no. We had one and it wasn't actually vacant land, but we had one case where we had an ID and we thought something was up. So we had one of our employees go and knock on the neighbor's house and say, is this the guy that lives next door? And they're like, nope. We're like, okay, thank you. And
That's old school.
Yeah. So it is. It's kind of trusting the people, like
right.
knowing the people that you're working with and trusting your community, and being hyper vigilant.
And you guys have someone on staff that is dedicated to just working on things like fraud and verifying.
We actually have a fraud team that if there's any sort of suspicious activity, we kick it to the fraud team, and then we have a bank of tools that we employ to verify the information or to start to really weed out whether or not the veracity of the folks that they're dealing with.
Would you tell our listeners how they can get a hold of Pioneer Title, and are there other instances where you guys may provide a service outside of the real estate transaction that if they're recording documents, is there anything like that you do outside of real estate?
Well, we have. We're located throughout the state of Arizona. So if you go to our website, pioneertitleagency.com or ptaaz.com, you can find our website, and we actually have this department called customer service. And
okay, what was that department again?
It's called customer service. And so if you're looking for copies of vesting deeds or research on the property, you want to see if there's been any activity, we offer that's just something we do as a courtesy service. There's no charge for it. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to any one of our branches throughout the state and put in a request, and we will facilitate getting you that information.
Okay, we want to thank Sean Campbell of CS Design and Mike Dalton of Pioneer Title for being on the show with us today.
Thanks, Matt.
The Johnson Smith team is your resource for all things real estate. Give us a call at 520-850-1725, 520-904-7711, or 520-373-6864. And we'd like to thank our other amazing sponsors, Indie Realty, Inspired Life Mortgage, Rego Pest Prevention, Pioneer Title Agency, and Caring Transition. When you see one of our sponsors, let them know that the Johnson Smith team sent you.